Hi guys, Hare Krishna. I hope you're all healthy and safe. Today is the auspicious day of Ekadashi, Amalaki Ekadashi. We will learn about the significance of this Ekadashi and why we need to fast from grains on this day. Everybody new to on this page, I just want to inform you that there is no strict rules or restrictions with God. You have your own way of connecting with God. If reading or reciting Bhagavad Gita resonates with you, that's fine. If it doesn't, you can always mute me and sit through this 15-20 minutes with your own holy scriptures or religious songs or bhajans. You can always do jap, or you can always just talk to God, sit and talk to God. For these few minutes that we are taking out for God, it is just purely for the intention of connecting with God. Today is Amalaki Ekadashi, as I've told you. This is an Ekadashi which comes between Shivratri and Holi. Lucky means gooseberry in Hindi. The Katha says that on this Ekadashi, there was a king known as Chhatarath. In his village, all the people were really, really pious, and all categories of people, depending on their occupation, belonged to that community. They were holy people. They did pious deeds and they remembered the Lord. One day on Amalaki Ekadashi only, they went to the temple. They were awake the whole night singing prayers of the Lord in the temple, and there was a sinful person outside the temple. He was really thirsty and he was really hungry and thirsty. By chance, he just sat outside the temple and he by chance heard all the words or all the katha or all the stories of the Lord. And by chance, he kept the Ekadashi fast that night. Because of this fast, in his next birth, he was born as a king. The king's name was Vidurath. Took birth as a really, really pious king and person, and he always remembered God. His community remembered God. One day, he was just sitting under a tree in some forest. Some of the thieves or some of the people started shouting that kill this king, kill this king, kill him, kill him. That time he somehow or the other, a feminine body came out of his own body, and she fought with every other person and killed them who were trying to kill him. And when he became conscious again, he was thinking that who could help me, who did this, who helped me. And Lord Krishna, he told him that it was us that helped you through this. The day he fasted, that was an auspicious day, that was an Ekadashi, and because of that fast, he was rewarded with benefits and protection from God. And why, what should we do on this day? We should actually refrain from eating grains, whether it is wheat, rice. Many people refrain from eating rice, but it is not only rice. You must refrain from eating wheat as well, and pulses, because Kalyug asked God that your people, the people who worship you, known as Vaishnavas, who worship Lord Shri Krishna, they are not harmed by any sin that they commit by chance also. So there is nothing that I can do to harm them. Kalyug asked God that there is nothing that I can do to make your people, your Vaishnavas, commit a sin. He said, please bless me with something. Please bless me with something that I can do that could make them commit a little bit of a sin. Even though God said that it would not be counted as a sin still, because my Vaishnavas are always protected by me. The people who worship me are protected by me, so they will never be harmed by anything. But then also he gifted Kalyug with one thing, that on the day of Ekadashi, that happens twice in a month, uh, if Vaishnavas consume grains, Kalyug would be sitting in the grains. Like Kalyug would be living in the grains. All the sin would be living in the grains at that particular point of time. And if the Vaishnavas consume it, that's when they could be committing some sort of sin, consciously or unconsciously. So that's why you must refrain from eating grains and pulses on this particular day. Let's just start. We were reading about how Dhritarashtra and Sanjay were having a communication about what was the scene on the battlefield, and how Duryodhan, the son of Dhritarashtra, was talking to Dronacharya, his teacher. So next is Tasya Sananjayanan Harshamam Kuru Vridha Pitama Simhanadamam Vinadyoche Shankhamam Dadhmo Pratapavam. Then Bhishma, the great valiant grandsire of the Kuru dynasty, The grandfather of the fighters blew his conch shell very loudly, making a sound like a roar of a lion, giving Duryodhana joy. The grandsire of the Kuru dynasty could understand the inner meaning of the heart of his grandson Duryodhan, and out of his natural compassion for him, he tried to cheer him by blowing his conch shell very loudly, befitting his position as a lion. Indirectly, by the symbolism of the conch shell, he informed his depressed grandson Duryodhan that he had no chance of victory in the battle, because the Supreme Lord Krishna was on the other side. But still, it was his duty to conduct the fight, and no pains would be spared in that connection. तथा शंखाश्च भैर्याश्च पनवानका गोमुखा सह सेवा भयहन्यन्ता सा शाब्दास tumulo bhavat. After that, the conch shells, drums, bugles, trumpets, and horns were all suddenly sounded, and the combined sound was tumultuous. Tatha sveter hayer yukte mahati syandane sthitho madhava pandavas cheva divyo shankho pradadha matu. On the other side, both Lord Krishna and Arjuna, stationed on the great chariot drawn by white horses, sounded their transcendental conch shells. In contrast with the conch shells blown by Bhishma Dev, the conch shells in the hands of Krishna and Arjuna are described as transcendental. The sounding of the transcendental conch shells indicated that there was no hope of victory from the other side, because Krishna was on the side of Pandavas. Jayastu Pandu Putranam Yesham Pakshe Janardhana. Victory is always with persons like the sons of Pandu, because Lord Krishna is associated with them. And whenever and wherever the Lord is present, the goddess of fortune is also there. Because the goddess of fortune never lives alone without her husband. Therefore, victory and fortune were awaiting Arjuna, as indicated by the transcendental sound produced by the conch shell of Vishnu or Lord Krishna. Besides that, the chariot on which both the friends were seated had been donated by Agni, the fire god, to Arjuna. This indicated that this chariot was capable of conquering all sides, wherever it was drawn over the three worlds. Panchajanyamam Hrishikesho Devadattam Dhananjaya Pondramam Dadmau Mahashankham Bhimakarma Vrikodhara. Lord Krishna blew his conch shell called Panchajanya. Arjuna blew his, the Devadatt, and Bhim, the voracious eater and performer of Herculean tasks, blew his terrific conch shell called Pondra. Lord Krishna is referred to as Rishikesh in this verse because he is the owner of all senses. The living entities are part and parcel of him, and therefore the senses of the living entities are also part and parcel of his senses. The impersonalist cannot account for the senses of the living entities, and therefore they are always anxious to describe all living entities as senseless or impersonal. The Lord, situated in the hearts of all living entities, directs their senses, but he directs in terms of the surrender of the living entity. And in the case of a pure devotee, he directly controls the senses. Here, on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, the Lord directly controls the transcendental senses of Arjuna, and thus his particular name of Rishikesh. The Lord has different names according to his different activities. For example, his name is Madhusudana because he killed the demon of the name Madhu. His name is Govinda because he gives pleasure to the cows and to the senses. His name is Vasudev because he appeared as the son of Vasudev. His name is Devaki Nandana because he accepts Devaki as his mother. His name is Yashoda Nandana because he awarded his childhood pastimes to Yashoda at Vrindavan. His name is Parthasarthi because he worked as a charioteer of his friend Arjuna. Similarly, his name is Rishikesh because he gave direction to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Arjuna is referred to as Dhananjaya in this verse because he helped his elder brother in fetching wealth when it was required by the king to make expenditures for different sacrifices. Similarly, Bhim is known as Vrikodara because he could eat as voraciously as he could perform Herculean tasks, such as killing the demon Hidimba. So, the particular types of conch shell blown by the different personalities on the side of Pandavas, beginning with the lords, were all very, very encouraging to the fighting soldiers. On the other side, there were no such credits, nor the presence of Lord Krishna, the supreme director, nor that of the goddess of fortune. So they were predestined to lose the battle, and that was the message announced by the sounds of the conch shells. Anantavijayam Raja Kunti Putro Yudhishthira Nakula Sahadevascha Shughosha Manipushpakau Kashyascha Parameshva Asha Shikhandi cha Maharatha Drishtadyumno Viratascha Satyakish Chaparajita Draupado Draupadeyascha Sarvasha Prithvipate Saubhadrascha Mahabhauta Shankhan Dadmu Pratak Pratak. King Yudhishthir, the son of Kunti, blew his conch shell, the Anant Vijaya, and Nakul and Sahadev blew the Sughosh and Mani Pushpaka. The great archer of the king of Kashi, the great fighter Shikhandi, Drishtadyumna, Virat, the unconquerable Satyaki, Drupad, the sons of Draupadi, and the others, O king, such as the mighty armed son of Subhadra, all blew their respective conch shells. Sanjay informed King Dhritarashtra very tactfully that his unwise policy of deceiving the sons of Pandu and endeavoring to enthrone his own sons on the seat of the kingdom was not very laudable. The signs already clearly indicated that the whole Kuru dynasty would be killed in the great battle, beginning with the grandsire Bhishma down to the grandsons like Abhimanyu and others, including kings from many states of the world. All were present there and all were doomed. The whole catastrophe was due to King Dhritarashtra because he encouraged the policy followed by his sons. Saghosho dhartarastrananam hridayani vyadarayatat Nabhascha prithvim cheva tumulo abhyanu nandayan. The blowing of these different conch shells became uproarious. Vibrating both in the sky and on the earth, it shattered the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra. When Bhishma and the others on the side of Duryodhan blew their respective conch shells, there was no heartbreaking on the part of Pandavas. Such occurrences are not mentioned, but in this particular verse it is mentioned that the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra were shattered by the sounds vibrated by the Pandavas. This is due to the Pandavas and their confidence in Lord Krishna. One who takes the shelter of the Supreme Lord has nothing to fear, even in the midst of the greatest calamity. Atha व्यवस्थितान् दृष्ट्वा धार्तराष्ट्रान् कापि ध्वजा प्रावृत्रे शास्त्रसम्पाते धनुरुद्यमा पाण्डवा ऋषिकेशं तदा वाक्यम् idam aha mahipate. At that time Arjuna, the son of Pandu, seated in the chariot bearing the flag marked with Hanuman, took up his bow and prepared to shoot his arrows. O king, after looking at the sons of Dhritarashtra drawn in military array, Arjun then spoke to Lord Krishna these words. The battle was just about to begin. It is understood from the above statement that the sons of Dhritarashtra were more or less disheartened by the unexpected arrangement of the military force by the Pandavas, who were guided by the direct instructions of Lord Krishna on the battlefield. The emblem of Hanuman on the flag of Arjuna is another sign of victory because Hanuman cooperated with Lord Ram in the battle of Ram and Ravana, and Lord Ram emerged victorious. Now both Ram and Hanuman were present on the chariot of Arjuna to help him. Lord Krishna is Ram himself, and wherever Lord Ram is, his eternal servitor Hanuman and his eternal consort Sita, the goddess of fortune, are present. Therefore, Arjun has no cause to fear any enemies whatsoever, and above all, the Lord of all the senses, Lord Krishna, was personally present to give him direction. Thus, all good counsel was available to Arjuna in the matter of executing the battle. In such auspicious conditions, arranged by the Lord for his eternal devotee, lay the signs of assured victory. Arjun Uvacha Senayorubhyor madhye Rathamam sthapayame achyuta Yavad etan nirikshe aham Yodhu kaman avasthitan Kair maya saha yodhyavam Asmin rana samudyame. Arjuna said, O infallible one, please draw my chariot between the two armies, so that I may see those present here, who desire to fight and with whom I must contend in this great trial of arms. Although Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, out of his causeless mercy he was engaged in the service of his friend. He never fails in his affection for his devotees, and thus he is addressed herein as infallible. As charioteer, he had to carry out the orders of Arjuna, and since he did not hesitate to do so, he is addressed as infallible. Although he had accepted the position of a charioteer for his devotee, his supreme position was not challenged. In all circumstances, he is the supreme personality of Godhead, Rishikesh, the Lord of the total senses. The relationship between the Lord and his servitor is very sweet and transcendental. The servitor is always ready to render service to the Lord, and similarly, the Lord is always seeking an opportunity to render some service to the devotee. He takes greater pleasure in his pure devotees assuming the advantageous position of ordering him than he does in being the giver of orders. Since he is master, everyone is under his orders, and no one is above him to order him. But when he finds that a pure devotee is ordering him, he obtains transcendental pleasure, although he is the infallible master in all circumstances. As a pure devotee of the Lord, Arjuna had no desire to fight with his cousins and brothers, but he was forced to come onto the battlefield by the obstinacy of Duryodhan, who was never agreeable to any peaceful negotiation. Therefore, he was very anxious to see who the leading person present on the battlefield were. Although there was no question of a peacemaking endeavor on the battlefield, he wanted to see them again and to see how much they were bent upon demanding an unwanted war. Yochya avekshe aham या एते अत्र समागता धातराष्ट्राय दुर्बुधेर युद्धे प्रिय चिकीर्षवा. Let me see those who have come here to fight, wishing to please the evil-minded son of Dhritarashtra. It was an open secret that Duryodhan wanted to usurp the kingdom of the Pandavas by evil plans, in collaboration with his father Dhritarashtra. Therefore, all persons who had joined the side of Duryodhan must have been birds of the same feather. Arjuna wanted to see them on the battlefield before the fight was begun, just to learn who they were, but he had no intention of proposing peace negotiations with them. It was also a fact that he wanted to see them to make an estimate of the strength which he had to face, although he was quite confident of victory because Krishna was sitting by his side. Sanjay Vache Evam Ukto Rishikesho Gudakeshena Bharata Senyor Ubhyor Madhye Sthapayetva Rathothatam. O descendant of Bharata, Sanjay said, having thus been addressed by Arjuna, Lord Krishna drew up the fine chariot in the midst of the armies of both parties. In this verse, Arjuna is referred to as Gudakesha. Gudaka means sleep, and one who conquers sleep is called Gudakesha. Sleep also means ignorance. So Arjuna conquered both sleep and ignorance because of his friendship with Krishna. As a great devotee of Krishna, he could not forget Krishna even for a moment because that is the nature of the devotee. Either in walking or in sleep, a devotee of the Lord can never be free from thinking Krishna's name, form, qualities, and pastimes. Thus, a devotee of Krishna can conquer both sleep and ignorance simply by thinking of Krishna constantly. This is called Krishna consciousness or samadhi. At Rishikesh, or the director of the senses, as Rishikesh, or the director of senses and mind of every living entity, Krishna could understand Arjuna's purpose in placing the chariot in the midst of the armies. Thus, he did so and spoke as follows. Hare Krishna. We will be reading the rest tomorrow. If you really wish to read more, please go on. Please go forward. Today is Ekadashi. Please read more. Please do more jap. Please connect with God today. A little more than you do every day. See you tomorrow. Bye.